I'm talking to Mike Paterson, Ontario-based author who just released a book titled Invisible Giant, documenting nearly 18 years of firsthand experiences and ongoing fieldwork related to Sasquatch. What got you into this, Mike?
This was back in, I guess, started around 2007. I just started going into the woods on my days off with a camera, chasing wildlife. I'm a nature guy, right? So, I bought some good camera gear, taught myself photography, and, just spending time in the woods looking for those stunning images. And then one day I had an epiphany to start looking into this subject, just kind of come out of nowhere. And it was in 2008. I had one incident before this, but in 2008, October 25th, I was in the woods, and I was specifically looking for them with somebody else that I had just met. I'd met previously. We talked, but it was the first time meeting him in person. And this guy, he invited me to go to an area, a previous activity. And we finally met up October 25th, like I said, 2008. And 4.5 hours later, I had a close vocalization that was undeniable. When you hear their voice up close and very loud, it's undeniable. So that moment literally changed my life and put me on this journey. It's now basically 18 years later.
And so there's been some alleged recent sightings in the Dresden area, which made me see that there's a whole group dedicated to these sightings online. In your book, you also touch on there's Indigenous perspectives.
Yeah, 100%. So the Indigenous cultures, they've basically spoken the truth about Sasquatch. They're a people, right? They're not an animal. They are a people. They're very intelligent, and they step outside of our understanding of, what science accepts. The scientific approach on this subject is outdated. It's always been strictly materialistic, and they won't, step outside of that zone. And that's basically what's held them back from, gaining any progress in the matter. And that's where I didn't have to answer to any colleagues, or for me, it was just, I do as I do, right? And so I was able to explore other avenues that, a lot of people might have difficult time accepting, but, we're dealing with one of Earth's longest enduring mysteries that many claim are a myth. And Sasquatch hold that status for good reason.
So in your book, do you talk to other people that have come across Sasquatch?
Not really in the book. It's more about my personal journey. It's kind of almost like an autobiography, but relating on my whole journey into the subject. But I do speak with many people, and I have since basically 2012, even before that. But once I started gaining my own experiences and putting it out there publicly, then, a lot of people contact you. So I have spoken with many people. I've done a lot of interviews over the years, too. So.
Is there a specific area where you might be able to see Sasquatch?
Gaining a visual is extremely rare. When they're seen, it tends to be a purpose behind it, although not always. There are cases where they've been witnessed and they have a surprised expression on their face, right? Like they got caught with their pants down, but they are not as rare as people might think. I could go find Sasquatch activity quicker than I could find a bear, per se. So it's a matter of understanding what you're dealing with, and it's entirely unconventional in comparison to our, current paradigm and scientific frameworks, our understanding of, how we approach this.
Okay, when you say you're looking for activity, so are you going out looking for footprints, or are there other signs that there have been some in the area?
I'll tend to look for footprints or stick structures, that look man-made, that don't really seem to have a purpose. They look like they're made by humans, but, these are typically found in areas where there may be Sasquatch presence. Certain things, too, when you're walking a trail, maybe, and it's a dead still day, no wind, and you hear a big tree limb crack or a tree go down, that's a possible indication that you're being watched, and they're letting you know, hey, we're here. My book, basically, it comes from a perspective of personal experience that steps far beyond the norm in this subject. When I had my experience, I needed answers, right? So I've persisted ever since. This has been my life. And, when you experience them firsthand, it's a real life changer. So my book has answers. It's written like no other book on the subject. And there's a lot of books out there on it, but I know this one comes from a perspective that is quite different than most. And I have had the support of science, certain science minds that have been involved in this subject, but sadly passed on. 3 major scientists in this subject have passed on. 2 of them were in full support. That would be John Bindernagel and Dmitry Bayanov. Sadly, when they passed on, it's kind of left a hole in the subject. So it's a subject that most of science, they don't touch it, right? It's like it's taboo or something. And I don't understand that because there's so much compiling evidence and supporting evidence and tens of thousands of sightings that continue, to compile every year. So hopefully this book of mine will open some eyes and give people something to think about. It definitely challenges your belief system.
The sound that you heard, are you able to mimic it for us? Like what would we be listening for?
That first incident, it was these guttural whoops. They were very raspy. It was 3 whoops. But what was interesting, immediately before that happened, I heard what sounded like gorilla chest thumps. It was really rapid 3 times. And I got it 2 weeks in a row, actually. So when I go out, I've been documenting a private property up in the Kawartha Lakes region. I was invited to investigate a property, right? So I've been visiting this property since 2012. And working with the property owner, and we've been documenting activity ever since. And so I run an audio recorder all night, every visit. So I have compiled a library of Sasquatch vocalizations that are, I probably got the largest by far library of clear vocals on the planet. So I do have a YouTube channel as well, right? Sasquatch Ontario, and there's a lot of the supporting evidence posted throughout that. Many people might be really quick to dismiss it, say, nah, there's barely any forest around here, whatever it is. But understand we're dealing with something entirely unconventional, and the answers to that are in that book. They have blessed me with a lot of experience. Very rare. When you show up and your intention is pure, mm-hmm. for the right reasons, they know that. And this subject is only going to grow because certain things I'm aware of. We're basically at the precipice of this being blown wide open.
How do you think the masses and the public are going to handle that?
I think most people just go on with their daily lives like nothing's happened. Some people that have been on the fence, I'm sure that'll help them out. But I think it's the same with the UFO disclosure. There's all this stuff going on with the U.S. government and disclosure on that subject, that phenomenon. And, it's not really anything that is, got the world going crazy or anything. It's just everybody's going about their daily business as per usual, right? Of course, there's, going to still be lots of people that are thrilled about it and maybe some scared, I don't know, but definitely the scientific community is going to have to change their approach to certain matters, like the UFO disclosure and Sasquatch too. So it's a different perspective, a wider. They got to broaden their perspective on this.
And so when you're out in the woods and you hear these noises and these sounds, are you worried? Is there anything to be scared of? Has there been documented attacks or anything like that?
My experience has shown me, and I've had experiences in multiple locations over the years. It can be intimidating and frightening at times, but at this point, I actually feel safer in the woods knowing they're around me. They are a human type. They're definitely not Homo sapien, but they are a human type. And they have an intelligence that it's something to be experienced to understand. They are not malevolent. I've never had any malevolence shown towards me, not once in my entire time of doing this. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So most of the time, you won't even know they're around you. There's certain things that give it away. And this is why I record audio, because when I do that, I might not know they're around. But when I get home and I listen back to that audio, there's a lot of indication saying, yeah, we were here.
Are they nocturnal or are they out during the daytime?
It could be anytime. Anything anytime, anywhere, pretty much.
And thanks, Mike, for sending the vocalizations and the pictures to go with this video. A True Story of Sasquatch, the Invisible Giant, is available now. So when was this released?
This month, April. I published April 10th.
Oh, wow. And that's when around when our Dresden sighting was.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mike, for taking the time with me. And this was definitely an interesting chat. And I look forward to reading your book.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for the call. And if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out. And, just keep an open mind. That's all I ask. You got to keep an open mind with this.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much.
Run.